Initially, I wasn't planning on making a video about Stranger Things, however, this fanbase has made it impossible to not speak up about this season, and most importantly, the finale. It is no surprise to anyone that most of Season 5 is a step down from the rest of the seasons. The dialogue is weird and corny, there is an unnecessary time jump at the beginning of the season, and simply put, the writing does not reach the level of expertise that the reigning seasons are at. So even though some of this video will pertain to the entirety of Season 5, I will mostly be focusing on the finale, a finale that I believe completely makes up for the blunders of the rest of the season. And a finale that is getting an extreme amount of unwarranted hate, as it might be the most perfect way that the Duffer Brothers could have finished the show. Everything I've seen going around against the finale episode has been nothing but dumb little nitpicks besides a few things. The main thing being that the final fight scene is too short. I do agree with that. The fight scene should have been longer and a more difficult battle for the entire group. I honestly think someone should have died during the final fight to give our lasting characters some sort of motivation to defeat Vecna. I would argue this show is not about the action set pieces and the spectacle fight scenes, but instead about the relationships and the mystery around Hawkins. This is a spot that Season 5 kind of falls flat for me, is the mystery element. There is some, but nothing that reaches the level of the other 4 seasons. Instead, the season leans more heavily on the action and spectacle, something that the Duffer Brothers are not super well equipped for. They are more knowledgeable of how to write an interesting character and the relationships between those characters. For example, in many other shows, 2 characters with similar attributes and personalities to Dustin and Steve would never even be placed in a room together. In Stranger Things, this is possibly the best relationship in the show and is definitely my favorite. So even though the final fight was a bit lackluster in length, not in spectacle and awesomeness because it did have those elements, I was still able to accept the fact that the final fight was a little lackluster because it's not what the show is really about. What the show is really about is what the final 45 minutes of the finale episode was. The last 40 minutes of Stranger Things Season 5 is the perfect ending to Stranger Things. It is a perfect send-off to many characters, but also is open-ended and mysterious. Oh, and spoilers ahead. In 3, 2, 1. Eleven's death is perfectly written and justified for her character. The conversation between her and Mike in those final moments is a huge highlight from the entire season. Him begging her to stay while she has already made her mind up is heartbreaking. For the people that think Mike is controlling the entire show, you are wrong. However, you should love this moment. She is finally taking control and doing what she feels is needed. This is character growth and a moment of triumph, not her losing. But keeping her death open-ended with Mike's theory at the end is also perfect. Something for the characters in the world and the audience to grasp onto, as Elle's death is important. Something to theorize is what Stranger Things does so well. This is also a crucial success for Stranger Things. People are talking about how the finale sucks because there are things left open-ended or there are plot holes, but I honestly think that's the point. There is so much discourse and theories bouncing all over, and it's exactly what the Duffer Brothers wanted. They've created a show that is able to itself create such an interesting discourse because of the mystery elements of the show. For the fans, this is the best feature about the show. Being able to watch an episode and then go on YouTube and watch 9 different theory videos with all compelling points that maybe all contradict each other is perfect. The Duffer Brothers have created a finale that ensures that discourse will never stop. And it is such a beautiful thing. Some of the nitpicks I've seen online are genuinely ridiculous, and I need to understand if everyone online understands that not every detail of a show needs to be shown or spoon-fed to you. I saw someone say that Season 5 sucks. There are so many plot holes, like how did Max graduate high school? She was in a coma. Did you want to see a montage of Max in the library studying really hard to catch back up with school? And there is a 1.5-year jump. We are in the 80s. That is more than enough time to catch back up to school. It also never says that she graduates with straight A's and is off to Harvard. And most importantly, who fucking cares? Are you serious? You just watched the finale to one of the greatest shows ever created, and that's your biggest concern? Another one I saw was someone upset that we don't find out if Mike knows that Will had a crush on him. Did you want him to say to Will that he knows and doesn't feel the same way? The dialogue in this season is already pretty spotty. We don't also need scenes of characters explaining their every emotion because you can't use some sort of context to understand of what's going on. And again, some things are meant to be up for interpretation. Now, on a more positive note, everyone in the season is giving a really good performance. It's still impressive to me that everyone in the cast is such a great performer when most of them were found when they were like 10 or 12 years old. Every single member of the cast who was asked for a great performance throughout the entire series gives one. Simply put, there are many small negatives or even big negatives that you can discuss about the show, but I don't really think that you can ever say that some of these people can't act. Even all the kids in this season give great performances. Derek becomes a fan favorite, and Holly gives an actually really impressive performance that is going under a lot of people's radar. Even with all those positives, I do think there are some small changes that I would have made to the season that I think would have made the season much stronger. I don't think there should have been a time jump at the beginning of the season. The season 4 finale is one of the best I've seen, and all the momentum is wiped straight from the start of season 5. Instead of season 5 being the crew trying to avoid a distinguished in-house military force, it should have been just about everything else the same, but instead the crew trying to avoid the military as they are starting to invade Hawkins. The season would have been much stronger if it was more of a race to defeat Vecna before the military planted their base, rather than the chase and avoidance that is seen in this season. Everything else in the season could have stayed pretty much similar. I just think this change would have added a lot more tension and more of a ticking time bomb to the entire season. Another change I would have made is making Will's coming out scene more personal and earned. This is a lot of people's biggest gripes with the season. Some people, it's simply homophobia, but I also don't think that the scene is done as well as it could have been done. Robin's coming out scene is one of the best scenes in season 3 and probably one of the best scenes in the show. This level of attention should have been given to Will's coming out scene as well. Will's coming out scene should have been a scene of strength rather than fear. He should have came out because he finally reached a time that he was ready to tell his secret. Instead, it is almost forced out of him because he thinks Vecna is going to use it against him. This would add a lot more strength and meaning to the entire season and the scene, and make the conversations between Will and Robin a lot more beautiful and heartfelt. The other major change that I would make to this scene would be to make it more personal. The only people that should be in that room should be Will, of course, Joyce, Robin, Jonathan, Mike, and maybe Lucas, Dustin, 11 Max. And those are maybes. There is absolutely no reason why Murray needs to be even in the conversation of being in this room. This should be a personal, beautifully honest moment between the group. Instead, the scene almost plays like an intervention. I also think making the scene more personal gets rid of the whole Spartacus moment. It doesn't really work for me, and it should have just been them actively talking to him with words of acceptance, not just raising their hands like they're the Power Rangers.
Rangers forever! Defenders together!
Even though I do enjoy Max's moment at the end of the scene. Just those two changes, I think, would really fix a lot about this season. Overall, though, the season is solid, probably about a 6 out of 10. However, the finale episode really is about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. It is almost exactly what it needed to be and exactly what the Duffer Brothers wanted it to be. And remember, after this video, films and shows are supposed to be open-ended and ambiguous sometimes. You are supposed to finish a show thinking about certain things, thinking about how certain things went and trying to find questions. That does not make it a bad show. And most of the time, that is not a plot hole, but instead just something that you're supposed to think about, or something you're not supposed to care about. It actually makes it a really good show and one that will last longer than just its release date. I saw a girl on TikTok get a Stranger Things tattoo, and someone commented, "I fear Stranger Things is becoming this generation's Harry Potter." So do with that information what you will and be careful. As always, love film, love to love film, or in this case, shows. See ya.